Support for WMNF comes from listeners like you and Florida Southern College in Lakeland, where visitors can experience a Frank Lloyd Wright architecture-guided tour featuring 13 Wright-designed structures. Tour reservations and details can be found at flsouthern.edu.
This is Mark Inslee, and you're listening to your favorite radio station, WMNF, Tampa, Florida.
The opinions presented on the Healthy Steps show are the evidence-based opinions of Dr. Fred Harvey, the callers, and his guests. These are not the opinions of the staff, the volunteers, or the board of WMNF. The information provided on the show is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. There is no implied patient-physician relationship in these calls. The nature of the calls is educational and informational only.
Hello there, my dear listeners. Gosh darn almighty, I'm indebted to you for keeping your dial tuned to WMNF Tampa, the resistance radio station from Tampa Bay to the Gulf of Mexico, and the only righteous little FM station that Stephen Daedalus would ever stream. And you can stream us as well anywhere in the world by going to WMNF.org. Today is our Ask Me Anything edition of the Healthy Steps radio show. I am absolutely certain that you know what to do, but we have some new listeners today, so let me lay it on out for everyone once again. If you have any medical questions or concerns, just give us a call at 813-239-9663. Sage has dedicated her morning to taking your call. So again, that number to dial is 813-239-9663. You can also email us at dj@wmnf.org. Well, Dr. Fred, AMA always seems to bring out the best in our listeners, and nobody pays me by the word to prattle on. So let me step aside now. What have you got for us today, Dr. Harvey?
Well, it's another beautiful day in Florida.
Absolutely it is. I'm loving it. And I do want to make a correction. I've got Maddie answering the phones today. Sage wasn't able to make it on in, but maybe she's able to enjoy this beautiful weather.
Indeed. And yeah, lots of beautiful weather it is. And thinking about that, I just wanted to talk about going out in the sun. It's been recommended by many medical societies to put sunblock on your body to prevent sun damage to your skin, to reduce the risk of skin cancer. And for years, there's been controversy about these chemicals that we've been asked to put on our skin. And as time goes on, more and more data is accumulating that many of these chemicals are actually toxic chemicals. The Environmental Working Group, they have a website, ewg.org, has a report on sunscreen and many other topical products. They have a page called Skin Deep, and they help you navigate the toxicity of the things that are in your cosmetics, because there's a lot of toxicity in a lot of cosmetics, including sunscreens. And there are many petrochemical additives that act as sunblocks. And the some of the ones that are involved are they're like benzene rings. They're petrochemicals that are highly reactive. Benzene, toluene, these things actually cause cancer. And these sunblocks are kind of based in these chemicals, and then they're changed, but they still have the basic structure. And so there's a lot of evidence that they act, because hormones are ring structures. They act like hormones. There's a hormone disruption that seems to be going on in animals and people that use some of these chemicals. They have names like oxybenzone and avobenzone, octinoxate, homocynnamate, para-aminobenzoic acid. Hear the benzene in there. Copaba, patamate, alpha-aminobenzoic acid, beta-paba, homosalicylate, homosalate. Fragrance is another thing that's in there. And oxybenzone, avobenzone, and benzophenone. They all have these benzene rings in. They're all probably toxic. They all actually have properties that we've been seeing in animals on in fish. We've found that higher concentrations of these in the water and in the fish results in a shift in the actual sexuality of the fish, because they're so much like estrogen that they can convert male fish to female fish. And many of these are banned because they're persistent. They're organic chemicals that are persistent. They don't break down. And so they're killing reefs in Hawaii. You can't actually access some of these toxic substances in Hawaii because they're killing reefs. There are a couple of minerals that are used, titanium oxide, zinc oxide. If you're going to use those, you don't want to get nanoparticulate because that might get absorbed. But these are very relatively safe. They stay on the skin if they're bigger particles, and they reflect the sun. They don't actually absorb the energy of the sun like these benzene rings and cause free radical damage to your skin. But here's good news. The FDA just finally approved the use of bemotrizinol, Bemotrizinol. It's actually marketed in Europe and Asia and Australia for many years. Tinosorb S and Parsol Shield are two names of it, trade names. But at this point, because the FDA has allowed it, it's available for human use in America. And so one of the key properties of this is it has really broad spectrum coverage. It covers UVA and UVB. So UVA is the one that causes the premature aging, wrinkles, and skin cancer, and UVB causes the sunburn. So it blocks both of them. And then unlike these other chemical poisons, essentially, that have been used, it doesn't degrade quickly or loses effectiveness when it's exposed to intense sunlight. So it's probably not going to be safe for use on reefs because it still will probably be damaging them due to blocking sun. But it doesn't leave a white cast. It's an organic chemical filter. And the best thing is it has minimal, it's a very large molecule. So it sits on top of the skin. And so it has minimal skin penetration, low bloodstream absorption, and it's been used for at least a decade in Europe without finding any major problems. So it's likely you can probably start ordering this chemical on the internet. You could probably find it for someone to ship it to you from Europe or Asia. This is good news because these other chemicals are dangerous. And the reason I talk about it is because these chemicals, when absorbed, end up in breast milk. Yeah. Mothers feeding children after applying these substances actually have it going in the breast milk. And even worse, there's a study that shows that women who have higher blood levels of these avobenzone, oxybenzone type of petrochemicals, they have lower birth weight babies. The higher the blood level, the lower the birth weight. So we need to really consider what we're putting on our bodies as well as what we're putting in our bodies. The study that I was talking about is where they showed, there's a new study that just came out. I didn't mention it yet. It's in Ecotoxicology and Public Health, May 13 of 2021. I don't know how this just showed up, but the American Chemical Society has a good study. They looked for 15 years, and what they showed was that PFAS was present in women's breast milk, and it was increasing over the course of time, and then it started decreasing when the government banned PFOS and PFOA. But they've moved to shorter, smaller molecules, and so now they have two short-chain PFAS, which started to show up as the other bigger ones started to go away. So we're finding these persistent chemicals in breast milk. We find the topically applied sunblocks in breast milk. And so we're actually damaging children with these chemicals when we're not paying attention to what is actually going on. And so suggestions, avoid using the petrochemical sunblocks, find the new one, use not nanoparticulate, but just regular zinc oxide as one of the safest sunblocks until you can get the other stuff. But the other thing is, remember, don't go out in the sun between peak hours, between 10 and 4. Stay out of the sun. If you have to go in the sun, wear a wide-brimmed hat, wear long-sleeve clothes, make sure you get some sunblock on your nose and your ears. The key is here, we need to avoid petrochemicals. Most of them are not meant for any body, mammalian, fish, doesn't matter. These aren't things that our systems know how to handle, so we end up getting problems when they're in our systems. There are better ways to do this. And we can talk about those better ways on this radio show. I'm Dr. Fred Harvey, and this is the Healthy Steps Radio Show.
It absolutely is. And I do have a caller, Kent, waiting to give a chat with you, but I'm going to invite everyone to give us a call for the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here at WMNF Tampa. Express your medical questions or concerns by calling 813-239-9663. Maddie's come on in to answer the phones. So once again, that number is 813-239-9663. And you can continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. Good morning, Kent. How are you doing today?
Hello, Kent.
Hello.
Are you there?
Good morning.
What do you have for us today?
I have a question for a friend of mine that's a female. They're 71, and they keep getting notice that they need to have their annual mammogram. And they're concerned, they've been having mammograms regularly every year, but they've also had a thermogram and I believe an ultrasound. They're wondering which is maybe the best. And the concern with mammograms is the radiation that they're potentially exposed to every year.
Yeah, that is a concern. So the current recommendations from all of the medical societies are to continue with the annual mammogram because mammogram is the gold standard for diagnosing a breast tumor, in addition to doing your own self-breast palpation every month. But so the mammogram has been very effective at early detection. And there is an issue with it, and you mentioned it, the radiation. I remember when I was taking my medical boards back in the late 80s, there was a study that was done by Radiology Society looking at mammogram risk. And what they came up with was that for every 100,000 mammograms, there's the possibility of a cancer being created. And, you know, I think just living creates a much higher chance of getting breast cancer, such as drinking more than an ounce of alcohol a day increases your risk of breast cancer by 50%. So there is a slight risk, but the benefit of early detection is significant. It's been my clinical approach to consider that the thermogram is a highly effective tool for looking at function of the breast. If the breast is showing an abnormal on the thermogram, it would be really important to get a follow-up mammogram and or ultrasound. The ultrasound is very good at delineating the difference between a cyst, an open, little balloon cavity versus a solid tumor. So if there's a question in dense fibrocystic breasts that the mammogram is unclear about, it's helpful to have an ultrasound to delineate whether it's a cyst or a solid tumor because most of the cysts are benign. And so my recommendation to my patients that are unwilling to consider the annual mammogram is to do an annual thermogram and a biennial mammogram. If you're not going to do it every year, do it every other year. But make sure that in the meantime, you're doing monthly breast palpations on and off the period. And if you're postmenopausal, just once a month, to make sure you're not missing a nodule that could be important. I've had patients that 6 months after their mammogram, they find a tiny nodule and come back and there's a 0.5 centimeter lesion there. So it's really important to consider all the data and really make the best decisions for you clinically, personally.
Okay.
How did that help?
That sounds good. And, she's 71, and would they just have to continually, for the rest of their life, have annual mammograms? Or is there a point
yes,
you don't have to?
The incidence of breast cancer goes up with time.
Oh, it does? Okay.
So it makes sense to continue paying attention.
That answers my question, then.
Excellent. Glad to help. You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you there, Eric. And yes, that is a great question. I've got, or say Kent there, but I've got Eric on the line. But I want to remind folks that this is the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey. And I'm inviting you to participate and address your medical questions or concerns by calling 813-239-9663 and continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. Let's go to Eric in Tampa. Good morning, Eric.
Hello?
Hello, Eric.
Hi, Dr. Harvey. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Eric?
I'm hanging in there. I was already outside a little bit today. And then I heard that you were doing a show or a special on sunscreens and skin. I had a few questions if I can ask you real quick so I don't forget them.
Certainly.
Okay, for sunscreen, is it about 30 nowadays? Is that best now? Or what was it the best SPF to use nowadays? And is it different for different skin colors, this type of lotion you use? And then the last thing is, for homeless people, they live outdoors, so what might be the best type of procedure or sunscreen or lotion that they could use because they're outdoors, they're outdoors all the time?
So first off, the 30 is about the kind of minimum you need in Florida to protect yourself. And if you're going to use some, why not start with a good number? 4, 10, 12, whatever these things are for people who want to get suntans, they're a bit too low, not worth it. So yes, start with 30, but different skin colors, everybody burns, no matter what your skin color. So wearing sunblock is a good idea for everybody. And I don't think you really need to change the lotion specifically. But as I mentioned before, if you're looking for SPF 30, look for zinc oxide, titanium oxide, or now this new one that's available from Europe, bemtrizinol.
Okay. Thank you for being able to answer those questions. The only thing I could help with the homeless is that if they don't use umbrellas, or that could be for anyone, like at a golf tournament, just to use an umbrella or sunscreen out in being outdoors that long. But the only thing I could think of they could use, if it's not lotion, is an umbrella or clothing to cover up. Is there any
exactly
being under shade? Can you suggest anything other than that?
I think those are some of the best things if you're outdoors. Just make sure you have a place where you can get shade. Try to get a long-brimmed hat or a wide-brimmed hat, long sleeve, like the shirts people wear for fishing. Those are about SPF 30, I think. So all these things could help. And then, yeah, if they can get access to some sunblock, they could use that too. Zinc oxide's fairly cheap.
So 30 would be a good one to tell if they ever donating sunscreen to a homeless shelter. 30 would be a good start off.
Right, but you can get much higher than that with zinc oxide. It's a complete block. If you've noticed the lifeguards' noses, they're white.
Yeah, it's a creamier lotion, it seems.
It's thick, it's dense, and it reflects. So it's one of the cheapest. Zinc oxide is like the cheapest sunblock you can do.
Okay, zinc oxide. I'll write that down. Thank you, Dr. Harvey. I don't want to hold up your time.
No problem. Thanks for the questions.
No problem. Thank you. Peace.
And to you.
Thank you there, Eric. And yes, I've got Scott from Palm Harbor on the line. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine, Doctor. How about yourself?
Fantastic. What do you want to talk about?
You've been a bodybuilder, and so you know the routine I'm going through. I've got a show coming up, and instead of doing Winstrol, some of those other things that are very toxic, what about a GLP-1? Is that a good way to, or am I going to lose muscle mass? What's the deal? I can't seem to find any research on that as far as the bodybuilding aspect of it to get shredded before the competition. Is that making sense?
Yes, I hear you. Not much interested in getting shredded, and so I don't pay much attention to that. But a GLP-1 might do that for you. It's just an abuse of a medication because there's no treatment that you're going for here. This is just cosmetics. So yeah, it might work.
Isn't it pretty much a side effect though that you do lose body mass, or can you counter it with the lifting of weights?
No, you have to counter it with eating enough calories.
And protein, right?
Protein is the calorie, yeah. Basically, if you go calorically below your needs, right, and if you have massive amount of muscle, you have huge caloric needs to maintain the muscle. If you drop below that, you're going to cut fat, and that's where you're going to get cut. If the GLP-1 is making you cut fat faster, you may not have as much appetite. You may lose some muscle mass. So I don't really know because I don't follow bodybuilding anymore. Yeah, it could be that you're dealing with something that would work. I don't know. I think that's. Yeah. I look more at enhancing health rather than doing cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, I just want to do this one show, and that's it. A short spin, and I'll be done with it. It's just one of those bucket list type of things. And a real quick question, Doctor. What about what's the degree between colon guard versus a colonoscopy? I know when you do the colonoscopy, if they're polyps, they can remove them immediately. But doesn't the colon guard detect the DNA of a polyp? So if it is present, then you know to go get the colonoscopy. What's your feeling on that?
This is what the literature about the Cologuard, the FIT test, the Gallery test, all of which are looking for the signal of cancer. It's looking for DNA, methylation, a bunch of different things that they're looking for these markers, and if they don't show up, you don't have that process going on. It's about 95% sensitive, 97% specific, so they're highly accurate. And I think that you can't, there's no way really of saying whether a colonoscopy is 95% sensitive or what, because we don't have a control. You're not going to do 2 colonoscopies by 2 different doctors and see which one was finding the polyps. So we don't have that control to know the actual sensitivity of the colonoscopy, but it is the gold standard, and every gastroenterologist is going to tell you need the colonoscopy versus the
colon guard.
The colon guard or the FIT. Basically, again, based on what you just said, that they can snare the polyp right then.
Right.
And so there's an argument for not getting anesthesia and not doing a colon cleanse. But if you've had a polyp, if you've had any kind of cancer, then you probably really need to go and let somebody look there. That kind of
nothing. I've had the colon guard I had a colonoscopy. Remember when Katie Couric was pushing the issue so much because of her husband? So I got caught up, and I did get it done, and they said, you're fine. I'm pretty much, I eat a lot of vegetables and a lot of fiber all the time. And so I got it done, it was fine. And then ever since I've been doing the colon guard. And I had no polyps at all on the first one, but that was like 20 years ago. So your opinion seems like what I feel, that the colon guard is a pretty good indicator.
Yes.
Right.
I think it really is. And so is the FIT test, and so is the Gallery test, by Grail.
You put my mind at ease. I thank you for all you do. I listen to you religiously, and thanks for all the input. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Hey, if you get a chance, stop by the tip jar and leave a donation. We're slightly under goal.
Absolutely. The stock market's doing great. I have no problem with that. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. You too.
Thank you very much there, Scott. And now the boards have gone dark, and It gets pretty spooky around here when things go dark. So I'm going to tell you folks that you are listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF in Tampa, and you are encouraged to participate. Just give us a call with your medical questions or concerns at 813-239-9663. I have Maddie who's come on in to answer the phones, so that number once again is 813-239-9663. And continue to send your emails to dj@wmnf.org. Back to you there, Doc.
Yeah, it's really interesting what we have going on in health. It's such a consumerist marketplace. I just ran across an article today, The Future of Health from Head to Toe. And the tagline is, early detection for all sorts of ailments will allow doctors to treat conditions before a lot of damage is done. Wow. It's like a lightning bolt that just awakened me. It's like, but wait. This is the premise that I've been practicing with since 1997. 30 years I've been practicing early detection. But not in the sense of, oh, we're going to do a PSA and see if you have an elevated PSA that early detects your prostate cancer. No, it's actually looking at predictive biomarkers, listening to the human who is vertically ill, who has no diagnosis, but just doesn't feel right. And this article suggests that in the very near future, doctors may be able to predict the speed at which your individual organs are aging and detect cancer, Alzheimer's, and other diseases long before you develop symptoms. No, it's already here. I'm so confused as to what this benighted nature of journalism is, in that we think we don't have the things that we do. Who is living in such poverty that they don't understand that we already have vast amounts of preventive early detection and life-changing information that with simple, healthy steps, we can actually turn back the course of a disease? This is fascinating to me that they're actually now just saying they know how to do this. Then it may be happening in the near future. No, functional medicine doctors have been doing this for 30 years. Western medicine is finally awakening to healthcare. Seriously, they're going to actually think about future health rather than treating illness today. But no, it's still veiled in that. We can treat the illnesses you don't have, is the statement that she just basically made. Treat. What about support the human condition so it doesn't have the problem? It's just fascinating the way our world frames stuff upside down. But we can talk about that too, because I think I have a couple of people on the line.
Yes, we do. We've got Chris and John, but I don't want to go through this spookiness again. I want you to participate in the Healthy Steps Radio Show by giving us a call at 813-239-9663. Again, that number is 813-239-9663 to sneak you on in the last about half hour of the show. Let's go to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Hello?
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, I've been dealing with some constant ringing in my ears, and it's worse when I lay down.
So, is it both ears?
Yeah, it's constant all the time.
And when did this occur?
It started about 3.5 weeks ago.
What was happening at the time?
I'm sorry, what?
What was happening in your life at the time that you developed this ringing in the ears?
Well, I've been under toxic stress for over 20 months now because I've been displaced since Milton.
Oh, yes. Stress and anxiety can often cause symptoms like ringing in the ears. Are you doing some sort of stress reduction technique?
Yes, I do. I do yoga. I do mindfulness, brain dumping, because I'm ADHD as well.
It sounds like you're doing some good things. So, what was going on 3 weeks ago that suddenly this occurred? Did you get exposed to something? Did something happen?
Not that I can pinpoint, no.
Because you've been displaced by a hurricane. Sometimes mycotoxins, mold toxins, cause these kinds of symptoms. Are you possibly in a moldy place?
I am. I'm living with a friend. And we're rebuilding. We're in the process of repairing our home.
So, are you repairing it yourself, and are you exposed to mold in the house?
No, I'm not repairing it myself. I visited the house. All the drywall's been taken down. It's basically been taken down. A lot of the, all the mildew and moldy stuff is gone.
Okay. I think it is worth it for you to see an ears, nose, and throat doctor and get evaluated, because constant ringing in both ears, it could be neurologic. But if you rule out the neurologic ear connection by seeing an ear doctor, audiologist, then this could be metabolic, and you need a further workup. It's really hard to tell, but stress can be involved, toxins can be involved. It doesn't sound like you've had noise pollution that's done it, but that also is involved.
Okay. And what about the products that, like, I think it's called Lipo, that supposedly has a lot of amino acids that help? Do you know anything about that?
I know that I wouldn't treat a problem like this without actually finding out why you have it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Get somebody to help you figure this out, because you do need that. This is too long of a persistent problem.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Best wishes to you there, Chris, and thanks for calling. Let's go to John in St. Pete. Good morning to you, John.
Yes, good morning.
Hi there.
Dr. Harvey, yes. I've been dealing with discomfort in one shoulder and compromised range of motion for probably 2 months or so. I'm going to physical therapy and doing exercises for that, but I'm wondering if I should maybe see an acupuncturist.
Well, do you know what the diagnosis is? What's going on in your shoulder?
I don't know, other than it's been kind of diagnosed as frozen shoulder. Physical therapy does not believe it's a rotator cuff issue. It's more muscular rather than joint related, according to what I've been told.
So rotator cuff is muscular. And so if they're telling you it's muscular, then it's rotator cuff. The joint is the joint. Different area of concern. So it does sound like you have muscular problems. I had frozen shoulder on both sides, and I found out I had partial rotator cuff tears on both shoulders. And I did chiropractic, deep tissue massage, class 4 laser, and acupuncture, as well as supplements. I backed out of the acupuncture when I found that the class 4 laser was improving the symptoms faster, and was facilitating the deep tissue massage. I found a very good deep tissue neuromuscular therapist who was able to remind me that my shoulder actually wasn't truly frozen, that it was my mind that was preventing the movement because it was afraid of experiencing pain again. Once I made it through a full range of motion a couple of times with each shoulder, then I didn't have a frozen shoulder anymore, and it was done extremely gently, not under sedation, like sometimes is done in the orthopedics suite where you get sedated and then they just kind of wrench the shoulder into a new place. This was done with me consciously aware of every movement, and I was making the movement with help. So there are some really good therapists out there. Muscle activation technique therapists, deep tissue neuromuscular massage people, acupuncturists, chiropractors, and acupuncturists who both use class 4 laser, and chiropractic to get your spine in the right shape, because it's probably also pushing your posture out of the place that makes your shoulders happy.
I did see a chiropractor. And
okay, on a regular basis to keep adjustments going?
No, she told me that she didn't think there was anything more she could do to relieve my condition with the shoulder.
All right, so you need a rehab chiropractor. There are chiropractors that are actually certified in rehab therapy. Mine was. Fortunately, he was in the suite next door to me, and we were friends for years. And he is a brilliant therapist. But if you can find a chiropractic rehab doctor, you're going to find somebody who thinks forward about that and understands that the entire system is connected.
You said you were diagnosed. How were you diagnosed?
MRI.
Okay. So you had
I just got an MRI of both shoulders, and I just actually there are many places that will do cash services. My insurance wasn't interested in paying for 2 MRIs, so fortunately I had the money to do, I think they only charge like $125 or something cash to read 2 MRIs, but you can shop around, see what you find. Maybe your primary care doctor will order a couple of MRIs for you, but yeah, or you only need one. Your right shoulder is the problem, so yeah, get an MRI and see if there's something really there, because you don't want to be fooling around with something that's torn. You want to actually do some of the good things. If it's torn, you want to get on supplements. You want to get on a regular, therapy with good direction, because maybe the physical therapist doesn't understand you have a tear and what he's doing isn't helping.
What type of a supplement would treat a tear?
There's some interesting extracts of coxcomb and collagen that they have produced at a company called Bioiberica in Spain, and it is hyaluronic acid and collagen. The one I used was branded as synovic tendon ligament, and it actually has electron micrograph evidence that it reorganizes inflamed and problematic tendons. It actually reorganizes and heals them. It's such amazing stuff.
Can you spell that for me? I didn't quite.
SYNOVX tendon ligament.
Tendon ligament? Okay.
Yep.
And is that readily available, or I have to go online for something to find that?
Well, you'll have to go online to find it readily available.
Yeah, I see. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you there, John. Let's go to Kathy in Lutz. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. Kathy, how are you today?
I'm good. I have a question about my big toe. The base of my big toe has got a growth that's been growing for 15 to 20 years, and it's starting to interfere with the function of my joint. And it usually doesn't bother me. I think I adjust my foot a little bit, but it's gotten real painful. And I've been told it was a calcium deposit just by somebody with no training. And I'm wondering what to do about it.
Well, it sounds like you're actually describing a bunion. Bunion is medically known as hallux valgus, which means that your toe kind of points away from the midline, and you get a big bony bump on the inside of the base of the toe.
Yeah,
and
my toe is straight, though. It hasn't grown differently. My toe is still straight.
Okay. So you have early hallux valgus.
Okay.
And so I don't know if your mom or dad had this, but it's not unlikely. And wearing tight, narrow, or high-heeled shoes are really one of the most horrible tortures that human society has done to women. So if you actually have been wearing high-heeled shoes, get rid of them.
Yeah, I've almost never worn high-heeled shoes.
Good. Orthotics can help, but you may want to get an opinion from a foot and ankle surgeon, an orthopedist who does foot and ankle surgery, or a podiatrist who does foot surgery.
Yeah, that's what I might be afraid of. Okay.
Yeah, you might want to talk to them. They may have some interventions that would help you before you actually have to go to surgery. Maybe you'll be able to avoid it.
That would be great. It's a real hard type of it feels bony. Is that what a bunion's like?
It's your bone.
Oh, it is my bone. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just
it's your foot bone.
Bone growth, a deformed bone growth.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And there's no real specific cause, but yeah, we know that it's something that happens in some people as they get older, and it seems it might be related to genetics.
Okay. I don't think either of my parents had it, but that doesn't mean I can't, I guess. I have one more question real quick. You were talking about sunscreen. And
yes.
I've always wondered, if you're wearing sunscreen, does that prevent your body from making vitamin D?
No. Vitamin D is made when your sweat contains cholesterol. The cholesterol is radiated by ultraviolet. And so if the sweat's sitting on top of your sunblock, it's going to get converted. The problem is the vitamin D has to get back into the body after it's been converted. And most people who exercise and live in America tend to shower after they've been outside exercising. And that washes away all the vitamin D that was in the sweat that you sweat while you were exercising, and so you don't get a chance to reabsorb it. And so people living in Florida in the sun and being tan as leather have low vitamin D in my clinical findings.
Oh, okay.
So you might really want to consider a vitamin D supplement and not worry about sunblock blocking your vitamin D if you shower when you come in from exercise.
Okay. Let me ask you one more quick question back to the bunion. Do you think calcium, I've heard that K2 directs your calcium to the proper places.
No, it doesn't do that. And so any changes in your calcium, et cetera, aren't going to affect this physical change on your foot.
Right. But, okay. So it's not like excessive calcium that's building up in the joint. It's just...
No, this is a mechanical thing.
Okay. Thank you for your help. I've been wondering about it.
You're so welcome. Take care. Have a great week.
You too. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you there, Kathy. Thanks for calling on in. Let's go to Barbara in Tampa. Good morning to you, Barbara.
Good morning, Dr. Harvey and the other man.
Bill, pleasure talking to you there, Barbara.
Yeah, I was just reading about a study related to cold therapy for Parkinson's disease, and it's supposed to be done 3 times a week, and it's supposed to really be good to promote neuron health or neuron regeneration. Are you familiar with that information?
Actually, that's the first time I've heard somebody mention doing cryotherapy for Parkinson's. It may have some effect like that. For me, the key to evaluating Parkinson's is to look at all the inflammation that could be causing degenerative issues, neurodegenerative issues, and looking at the metabolome to find out is there toxicity? Are the neurotransmitters abnormal? Is there enough omega-3 fat in the body to make the brain be intact and functional? There's so many layers I would get to before adding an extrinsic therapy like cold shock therapy. If you haven't done a complete functional medicine workup for your Parkinson's, then adding an external therapy like this is random and may or may not be effective.
I see. Okay, well, that's very helpful then. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have you had a functional medicine workup to find out whether you have imbalances like that?
No, no one's really, you suggested that it's always a good step, but like nobody else has really suggested that. You mean you can test the toxicity somehow?
Absolutely. On all of my new clients, I do a test called the Nutra Eval. It is done by Genova Diagnostics Labs, and it looks at many functional areas in the body. It looks at biomarkers of the balance in your gut. It looks at your microbiome biomarkers. It looks at whether you have leaky gut. It looks inside your mitochondria, the energy and biotransformation centers of your body in each cell, and it looks to see if they're functioning well. It looks for behind the scenes B vitamin needs. Rather than looking at say a B12 level, it looks to see if the chemicals that B12 affects are normal or abnormal. It looks at your brain for inflammation and for neurotransmitter balance. It looks at your body's ability to get rid of toxins and looks at petrochemical and metal toxicity. You can see if you have mercury or lead contributing to your brain disease. You can see if you have styrofoam on board causing neuronal damage. And we look at the omega-3 panel to see if you have, or actually the complete omega panel to see if you have the right balance between omega-3, 6, 9 saturated fats, and whether you have a good ratio between inflammatory omega-6s and anti-inflammatory omega-3s. Your omega-3 index is an extremely important indicator of brain health. If you're not at 8%, you are deficient. And many people I see are in the 4, 3, and 2% range, so their brains are actually on fire and unable to function normally. These are the things that I look at in my initial visit with clients so we can figure out how to patch the holes. Because most people come to me with a leaky roof, and we need to put patches on that roof so that they can function again.
Oh, that's interesting. And I'm just curious, what does a test like that charge? What do you charge?
Oh, well, Medicare covers it. That's a great thing. Private insurance doesn't, but the test costs about $500. But if you're over 65 and you have Medicare and you have primary Medicare, not Medicare Disadvantage, that is where another insurance company owns your rights to Medicare, Medicare covers this test, which is a beautiful thing. I just got my first one on Medicare last month.
Does that, like the United Healthcare, cover it?
No private insurance covers it because they restrict your access to good testing. That's the purpose of private insurance, to make you suffer.
Well, I had just plain Medicare, and somehow I didn't know I was transferring to a different plan. They just switched me to it because my primary doctor and all my doctors take that insurance.
Oh, that's what it was. They gave you the option, and you chose it because your doctors were on that plan. Neat marketing, but now you sold your rights to Medicare to United Healthcare, and they say no to so many things that Medicare covers.
Well then.
But in the enrollment period in November, you can get back onto straight Medicare.
Right. I would just have to give up all my doctors for Tampa General,
Well, unless they are willing to accept out-of-network services. You don't have to leave your doctor if you're not in their insurance plan. You just may have more out-of-pocket costs when you go to see them. The insurance can't control whether or not you see it. The doctor has that control. If they don't want to see anybody outside of network, then that's their issue, and that's sad.
Right. Well, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's very expensive to see a doctor out of network, though.
Yes, it is. And so it's a lot of consideration there. But the gap insurance that I have covers those costs of the person that's out of network.
Right. Yeah, you can. Okay, gap. Oh, I see. Okay, well, I think my husband has that. Okay.
Yeah, you want to get a Part G or something to go with your Part D with your Part A and B.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, all right, Dr. Harvey. Well, I appreciate that information, and I will put all the parts together and go from there. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, thank you, and have a great week. Good luck pursuing that. And I think I will take that last caller right now.
Oh, Renty. Well, Eric, we got about 2 or 3 minutes. What have you got for us?
Yes, good morning, Dr. Harvey. My wife, about 4 years ago, she hasn't been diagnosed with it, but it took 2 visits to a neurologist for me to realize they're not very good. And she has all the symptoms on paper of frontotemporal dementia, but she has no memory loss, no cognition loss. It's all behavioral. She doesn't have, I've been to the neurologist. It's draw a clock, repeat these 3 words, let me see you walk. I'll see you in 6 months. And I just don't know what to do.
Well, has anybody actually sat down with her for the 3-hour neuropsychological evaluation?
Yes, I had a neuropsych test done. I did. And it showed loss of executive function. She had another one done and a follow-up one about 1.5 years later. And some improvement. She's had specific blood tests that show there's no neuron degradation in the brain. She does have larger ventricles. She does have some brain shrinkage, as we all do when we're in our mid-60s. Cognition and memory are intact. This is a very vibrant woman 4 years ago that almost overnight just changed.
Wow.
Now, just can't. It's not a stroke. We've had CAT scans. We've had spinal taps. Just can't seem to find a good neurologist, nor neurology says it's psych says it's neuro,
Well, in that situation, you need a functional medicine evaluation. You need somebody to look at the broad picture.
Yeah.
Because if they're not able to explain it with a simple label, which is what they really want to do, then it's a more complex issue. I have a couple of people that have seen me over the past that the neurologist could not diagnose it as Parkinson's disease. It was a Parkinsonian-like event, but they didn't have all the classic Parkinson's. It's been interesting to watch. And then labels is how Western medicine works. I have people that have been called seronegative rheumatoid arthritis, when in fact it's really actually a reactive synovitis. The joint is being destroyed, but they don't have rheumatoid factor, so it can't be really rheumatoid arthritis. So, but they need to use the word rheumatoid to get the biologics paid for, so it's kind of like they make stuff up to fit the insurance needs. But in this situation, your wife's had a really good workup, but it's just like there's nobody pulling the rest together. What's going on behind the scenes? Has anybody checked toxicity, omega-3 levels, or things like that?
Probably not. Other than yourself, who's a good functional medicine doctor in Tampa?
Well, I'm not in Tampa, but there are a couple, and I would go to ifm.org and do a physician search for your area. They have a doctor finder, 25, 50, whatever miles you want to do, and you will find practitioners, and you can, the bios and such are on the website, so you can actually see what their specialties are, what their training is. Is it an MD? Is it a nurse practitioner? And then you can really see if there's somebody there, and you might even expand the search to like all of Florida and see if you can find a functional neurologist. Unfortunately, my good friend David Perlmutter retired from clinical practice, but he had a vibrant practice in Naples and was really helping lots of people who were misdiagnosed by other neurologists. So anyway, yeah, there are options for you, and I hope you get out there and explore some.
I will. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I want to thank everybody for calling in today. It was a great engagement. Thank you so much. I have some emails I'll probably answer off the air. But in the meantime, just a reminder, we didn't quite make goal. If anybody wants to stop by the tip jar today and throw in a couple dollars to get us closer to that $2,000 goal, that would be wonderful. I appreciate you and your calls. And I appreciate Bill for producing in-house and Maddie today for answering all of our phone calls. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you again, Dr. Harvey, for another illuminating and beneficial Healthy Steps radio show. And to you out there, I want to thank you and all of our participants, listeners, and supporters. You make this show awesome. Of course, you've been listening to the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. Waiting for you like a dear friend is 5 minutes of NPR news, and then get ready for the Sustainable Living Show hosted today by John Butts. Until next Monday at 10 a.m., thank you for listening and supporting the Healthy Steps radio show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. your community-conscious radio station. Stay safe, stay thoughtful, and know that you are loved.